You've heard all the promises about outsourcing, right? That it's some kind of silver bullet for growing your business, making you more efficient, and slashing costs. But let's be real, is any of that true? Or is it just hype? Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and see what strategic outsourcing really looks like for the companies that are actually winning with it.
I mean, you see claims like this and it's impossible not to pay attention. Close your books 5 days faster, cut your costs in half, scale up without a crazy hiring spree. It sounds a little too good to be true, doesn't it? But here's the thing. These aren't just empty buzzwords. These are the real, actual results some firms are seeing.
So, that brings us to the big question. Are these just lucky one-offs, or is this a new reality that your business could tap into? Let's find out. We're going to dig into some real-world success stories to see exactly how these kinds of transformations actually happen.
All right, first up, we've got a scenario that I bet is going to feel painfully familiar to a lot of you out there. We're talking about a mid-sized CPA firm that was facing a very common and very stressful problem.
Okay, so here was the deal. Every single tax season, the firm was just drowning. Their in-house team was completely maxed out, and trying to hire seasonal help was always expensive and, a total gamble. So they made a really smart move. They decided to outsource just one specific high-volume task: individual 1040 tax returns. A super simple, really targeted solution.
And the impact? Get this, a 40% improvement in their turnaround time. I mean, that's not just a small tweak, that's a massive leap in efficiency. It meant they were hitting deadlines with way less stress, and their own expert team was finally freed up from all that repetitive data entry.
And this is the key lesson right here. The whole point of outsourcing in this case wasn't to replace their team. Not at all. It was all about empowering them. By getting rid of that tax prep bottleneck, their core staff could finally focus on the high-value stuff, like client advisory work that actually grows the business.
Okay, for our next story, we're going to switch gears. We're moving from general accounting into the super high-stakes world of fund management, where there is absolutely zero room for error.
So, picture a private equity fund manager just wrestling with these incredibly complex calculations. I'm talking capital calls, NAV reporting, stuff that can make your head spin. With a pretty small internal team, getting any of this wrong was simply not an option, especially with auditors always on the horizon. The solution? They outsourced their fund accounting to a specialized team that, well, this is what they live and breathe every single day.
And the results were about so much more than just getting the numbers right. You know what happened? Investor confidence shot way up because the reports were suddenly rock solid. They saved a fortune by not having to hire a full-time in-house team, and their audits, they went from being a total nightmare to a smooth, almost effortless process.
The takeaway here is so powerful. A lot of people think outsourcing is just for, the grunt work. But this shows that for those really specific niche challenges, outsourcing is like your all-access pass to A-list experts that you probably couldn't afford to hire full-time. That kind of deep expertise means nothing ever falls through the cracks.
Okay, for our last case study, let's talk about a classic growing pain. How do you actually take on more clients without blowing up your budget or damaging the brand you've worked so hard to build?
So this growing CPA firm had a great problem. Tons of demand, but not enough people to handle the work. Their solution was something called white label accounting services. Now this is fascinating. It let them use an external team to do all the heavy lifting, but every single thing that went to their clients had their own company's brand on it. It was completely seamless. The client had no idea.
And the result of this? They tripled their operations. Not over 5 years, in just 1 year. That is absolutely incredible growth, and they did it without all the high overhead costs and delays of hiring. They essentially just flipped a switch and scaled their capacity overnight.
So the lesson here is pretty clear. White label isn't just about getting more work done, it's a strategic tool. It lets you scale up super fast, all while keeping that client trust and brand reputation that you've worked so hard to build. You get to have your cake and eat it too.
Okay, so we've seen the what, these really impressive results, but how did they do it? What's the secret sauce? Let's break down the common principles, the real foundation behind all of these success stories.
It really boils down to 4 key pillars. First, you need specialized teams, not generalists. Second, everything has to be process-driven to make sure it's consistent. Third, you gotta have technology backing up the delivery to cut down on errors. And finally, and this one is so important, you need clear, constant communication. That's the blueprint, right there.
All right, so you've seen the proof, you get the principles, but how do you actually get started without taking some huge, scary risk? Well, the good news is it's probably a lot simpler than you think. Here is a simple 3-step playbook.
First things first, don't try to boil the ocean. Start small with a little pilot project. Step 2, define your KPIs. What does success actually look like to you? Is it speed? Is it cost savings? Be super clear from day one. And finally, step 3, choose the right partner, someone with proven expertise in your world.
So as we start to wrap up, I want to leave you with a really crucial shift in thinking. It's about learning to see outsourcing not just as a way to cut costs, but as something much, much bigger. This right here is the big shift. Outsourcing is moved out of the back office and onto the front lines. It's not a tactic anymore. It's a core strategy for being more agile, for serving your clients better, and for gaining a serious competitive edge.
So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. As you look at your own business, what's that one bottleneck that's holding you back? That one thing that drives you crazy? Because as we've just seen, that very bottleneck might just be your next great opportunity for growth.